What is up, man? We are back in black in the building. Shout out to everybody out there at the Core Plantation doing what they need to do to survive. Man, shout out to the homegirl Shawnee Philly in the building. Stand up. Shout out to the homegirl Erica Florida, aka Florida, is definitely in the building. Shout out to my brothers and sisters all of the United States of America Incorporated. Shout out to my family in Las Vegas, Nevada, handling business, doing what they need to do to survive. Shout out to my brother James Youngblood, Texas is definitely in the building. Shout out to my brother David, No Compromise, Georgia in the building. Hey man, we about to get to it. Shout out to the homegirl Melina, all the way in North Carolina, aka North Kakalaka. What does reparations look like? That's going to be the subject, the topic. Me and my brother David and James Youngblood, we've been having this conversation all day today. James Youngblood asked me this question, so I gave my answer, and I'm just going to repeat it. So a lot of this they didn't already heard me say, but I'm going to go ahead and repeat it on here because I think this is something we need to be talking about. Let's get it. Man, remember I was telling y'all about that recession? Now, let me ask y'all something. If it's a recession and all these buildings, not buildings, but all these businesses, these Fortune 500 companies, oh, it's a recession. We got to lay off all these people, but y'all steady buying new companies. Poppy just sold for $1.6 billion. New York, CNN, Pepsi Cola is buying Poppy, the popular probiotic soda brand, in a $1.65 billion deal. The move marks Pepsi company further shifts into the better for you category as consumers shy away from sugar-filled drinks and unhealthy snacks. In January, the company bought the Siet, I don't know what that say, Foods, which makes gluten-free chips for $1.2 billion, and PepsiCo bought the remaining half of the Sabra hummus brand it didn't own last year. We've been what? Oh, my bad, because I can't even see. Look, I'm up here looking at the wrong thing. There's two different articles. Hold on. Let's see. We've been evolving our food and beverage portfolio over many years, including by innovating with our brands in new spaces through disciplined strategic acquisitions that enable us to offer more positive choices to our consumers, said Ramon Laguarta, CEO of Pepsi Company, in a statement Monday. Not a foundational Black American, but somebody else who's non-foundational, by the way. More than ever, consumers are looking for convenient and great tasting options that fit their lifestyles and respond to their growing interest in health and wellness. Poppy is a great complement in our portfolio transformation efforts to meet these needs, he added. Harnessing PepsiCo's major distribution agreements and marketing budget could give Poppy an advantage over rival Olipop. However, both brands are still relative newcomers and have room to grow in terms of sales and awareness. My bad, I was reading two different articles. I'm like, man, what? Despite growing in popularity, only about 5% of consumers drink probiotic or prebiotic sodas regularly, according to Zappi, a consumer research firm. I drink, it's carbonated water. So there's no sugar, no salt, no nothing. I just drink that. I haven't drank a soda in, I don't know, forever. So I think a lot of people don't drink sodas like that. Not like that. The challenge of these brands lies in the disconnect between brand awareness and functional understanding, said Natalie Kelly, Chief Marketing Officer of Zappi, told CNN. While most consumers have heard of prebiotic sodas, only about a third truly understand what they are and how they work. Well, how do they work? How do they work? Poppy garnered a loyal fan base since its appearance on Shark Tank in 2018 when it was still called Mother Beverage. Poppy advertises its sodas as packed in prebiotic and apple cider vinegar that it claims can aid with gut health. Although the health benefits on those claims are dubious, Pepsi competitors Coca-Cola hopped on the trend by launching its own line of prebiotic sodas, Simply Pop, last month. I mean, nothing but competition. This has nothing to do with health. Other similar sodas have also entered the market in recent weeks, including Spindrift Soda and Bloom Nutrition. The gut soda wait and see period for major soda makers like PepsiCo and Coke is over. They have been enough to jump in, Dwayne Stanford, editor and publisher of Beverage Digest, said to CNN. PepsiCo plans to launch its own prebiotic soda brand based off its Soul Boost beverages have been scrapped. I'm gonna read this and I'm done. But Poppy's rise in popularity hasn't been completely drama-free. The soda company drew backlash over Super Bowl weekend last month for grifting full-size Poppy vending machines to influencers from social media users who called it out of touch. Okay, this is a bunch of bullshit. I just wanted to read that article so we can have an understanding. I was actually reading two different articles, but so we can have an understanding. They talking about a recession, but people over here buying companies for $1.6 billion. So if it's a recession, why does anybody have any money to buy anything since it's a recession coming? Stop. If y'all don't like Elon Musk and the Tesla, don't buy it. Who cares? That's not where the focus should be. You know, I even watched this thing about Kevin Hart on the Breakfast Club, and he was just basically talking about how we need to work together, and we shouldn't have the mentality of what this person's getting versus what I'm getting. And that's very, very, very true. But a lot of us don't want to read. A lot of us don't even want to know about anything. We just want to know what the hottest song is and what's the newest trends that you can follow. Nobody really wants to know anything, and they don't want to venture down those avenues. Hence why on Instagram you see all of these non-foundational black Americans doing our art form. I left a comment on this dude's page. I don't care who he was. I was like, it's so funny how y'all want to sit up here and keep doing our art form and trying to be a user of our art form and our natural possessing of the law of rhythm. But where are y'all at when it comes to reparations? So you don't like us. You want to make money off of our culture by any means necessary, but then you don't even want to give us what is owed to us. That's the problem. I don't hear no dominant society people being like, man, black people have been treated awful in this country, black Americans who built the country for free without repayment. You know, we try to do their music, we try to dress like them, we try to do everything like them, but when it comes down to standing up for justice and equality, nobody's going in there and trying to change the laws. Ain't nobody trying to be an actual ally for us, for black folk. Everybody just want to sit up there and march one and repeat. That's what we need to be focused on. And it brings me to my topic. Me, David, James Youngblood, we had these conversations a lot. I ain't going to tell you all the details, but basically, my brother, James Youngblood, was basically like, hey, what does reparations mean to y'all? What is it like? What does it look like? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, is it like education? Y'all know I can't wait for that. And I'm going to say it again. Reparations look like tax-free paper that is owed to us because we are descendants of natural freedmen. Native blacks, as Dr. Claude Anderson calls it, are foundational black Americans, as Tariq Nasheed graciously coined the term foundational black American. So, since that's being said, I want tax-free paper that I don't have to pay taxes on, and none of my people have to pay taxes on. I want tax-free property, meaning I shouldn't have to pay no type of property tax on anything that I buy because of what my ancestors contributed to this country. And I should not have to pay taxes ever again in fucking life. Why, Warren? Because the Native Americans don't pay taxes, and they didn't build this country. So why they not paying no taxes, but we got to pay the taxes? No diss to the Native Americans, but y'all done built the country for free without repayment. And it was more than just picking cotton. And it was more than just telling about the gun line boss. You built the infrastructure, the bridges, everything. Stop. This is what I mean. And by the way, I'll say it again. Stop explaining to people why we should get reparations. And you should do this. Really? When people are like, well, I don't understand. Like, And I'm sick of hearing the bullshit about, oh man, we gonna break the bank. I like how all these dominant society people and tethers and Sambos and coons come up with all these stupid ass excuses that mean nothing about, oh well, that's gonna break the bank and the GDP and all. Now you want to get technical. Then when you be like, okay, well, is it breaking the bank when the white Jewish community gets reparations? Because what happened to them was awful. That was awful, and they should be repaid. But that happened in Europe. So if that happened in Europe and we are repaying them, because that's coming out of our tax dollars, why is it every time it comes to foundational Black Americans, it's all these excuses? That's what I don't like. It's all these excuses. Because in actuality, most people that are not foundational Black Americans, they don't want to see us in a position of winning. They want to see us in a position of submission. That's what they want. And begging and going on the jobs. And like, you know, I got love for LeBron James, and I got love for everybody in this platform. I don't agree with a lot of shit that Stephen A. Smith may say or do. I don't agree with a lot of shit that LeBron James says and does. But I'm going to tell you this. LeBron, that's what happens when you make those type of political moves and think you're winning by creating what the average eye consumer thinks is nepotism, when really you and your son are just world's greatest slave. Let me tell you the difference. I'm gonna break this down. David, James Youngblood, everybody listening. Go look up Kenny Smith from TNT when he was going to North Carolina. Guess whose roommate was? Do you guys know of Kohler toilets? The Kohler toilets that you see in Lowe's and you see in Home Depot everywhere. The Kohler toilets. If I'm pronouncing it right. Well, Kenny, the Jet Smith, his roommate was a descendant of that company. And this was in the 80s. And he was like, yeah, my dad owns this company, you know, toilets. So Kenny's like, well, what the fuck you doing in college? He said, my dad made me go to school so one day I can work my way up in the company and then I can run the company. Because, you know, you got to report to stock shareholders, and if you're not well equipped and you're not educated, you won't be able to be in a high seat in the company, even if your dad is the 51% shareholder. Yes, that's how it works. That's the ultimate nepotism. I own 51% of this company. I'm sending my son to North Carolina so he can get his degree in business finance, and then he's going to come back and work his way up the company and run the company. That's how nepotism is supposed to work. Not so you can be the biggest slave. That's all I'm saying. When you got to play, I don't care how much you love basketball. When you got to be playing basketball for 20 goddamn years and using all your physical attributes to entertain people for 20 years, if that's what you like, cool. But the imagery behind it is world's greatest slave. You got your son a job where you work. Well, Warren, the Kohler dude, the Kohler dude owned 51% of that company. That's real nepotism. Exactly. Hey, I don't know what's best for LeBron and them, but I'm just telling you what I think it should have looked like. Why don't you have him go to school, get his degree, and go work with Rich Paul? He could be one of the biggest clutch sports agents out there, and then branch off and take over that company, or get him a job where he could be the general manager, and then later they can come together, do a power move, and try to buy a franchise. Not get your son a job where you work. You don't own it. We didn't learn anything from Dame Dash. Dame Dash already told us, you don't own this company. So if you need to get capital out of the company, can you get it? No, you can't. Okay, then you don't own it. You have a boss, so you don't own it. It's like we got selective memory when it comes to that. And you got to apply that to the system of racism and white supremacy. You're just the world's greatest slave, you and your son. And I get it. You're upset about what Stephen A. Smith is saying because you his dad. But hey, man, that's the price you pay when you put your son in the court of public opinion, sir. What'd you think? Nobody was going to say anything to you about your son? And your son ain't that great at basketball. We already know that. So with that being said, LeBron, maybe it might be time for you to retire. Since you're coming out of pocket and walking up to Stephen A. Smith and I guess call yourself checking him for I don't know what. I don't understand why that was even something. You could have picked up the phone and called him. That's why I give Kobe Bryant props, because when him and Stephen A. had issues, he'd pick up the phone and call his ass and be like, hey, motherfucker, why you say that whole shit? But then again, him and Kobe Bryant are very much different. And it's funny how they don't even mention Kobe Bryant's name anymore. It's like he died and now it's between Michael Jordan and LeBron. But how did you pass Kobe? But I digress. That's what reparations look like, where we ain't got to be getting our kids jobs where we work, where we are the job. We are the financial stability because we have been given a repayment of money that is owed to us. And we have to understand that. I don't think a lot of people do. And I don't want to hear nothing about you get free education. I don't want nobody's free education. You can have that bullshit. And I meant it. What, so I can go to school, get a degree that means nothing and go work a regular fucking job like everybody else is doing? Because there's plenty of people with degrees, but there's less people with careers. I never would suggest joining the military or the Air Force, but I suggest a lot of young black people, foundational black Americans, if you don't have a plan and your parents don't have a plan for you, don't just wing it, working jobs. And retirement is serious. And if you think you finna purchase a home that's starting off at $400,000 and $500,000 with a 6.2 interest rate, man, good luck. That's why we need to have a plan, or someone's gonna have a plan for you. And don't explain it to these people about reparations. These people know what it is. They just want to get you talking and getting all emotional. Don't get emotional. I suggest you do this. When people are like, well, what do you feel about reparations? And be like, you know what I feel? I feel like people that don't understand what it means, they should get some books and read what has been done to foundational black Americans in this country since the inception of this country. And this is a great book you should suggest. Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. Let me tell you, this is the most gruesome, gory book I've ever read. And I've read a couple. In this book, you can't even sleep at night. I was having nightmares. I just now talked about it. I ain't never said this before. And y'all remember when I was telling about the book? Yeah, it's a good book, but it's atrocious. It's a horrible book. It's a good book, but it's horrible. And you will have nightmares. Because I did. Because I was reading, I couldn't put the book down. Sometimes I'd be reading it before I go to bed, and I would have fucked up nightmares too. So I had to kind of alter when I would read the book. I would only kind of read it during the daytime. You know what I mean? Because it was an awful book. But I suggest you read it, and I suggest you suggest it to other people when they be like, well, I don't understand. Like, those type of reparations, that'll break the bank and the GDP, and we're already in debt. You need to tell them this. So were we already in debt when we wanted to go help out Ukraine with billions and billions of dollars? Were we already in debt when we are financing illegal immigrants to get $13,000 worth of food stamps and stay in 5-star hotels on taxpayers' dimes? Okay. So you don't agree with that, but you don't want us to have the money. Oh, okay. Even though we deserve it. Okay, well, the white dominant society, Jewish community, brothers and sisters, they get reparations. A lot of those people that are alive today weren't there during the Holocaust, but they're receiving reparations. What's the difference? Please explain it to me, because what has been done to us wasn't on film. The Holocaust was on film. They didn't get what was done to us on film. And how you gonna promise somebody 40 acres and a mule, never give them that, and then when you read Slavery by Another Name, when the white slave owners felt so bad because the ancestors would just, in my personal belief, disrupt the slave masters' mental health. That's what I think. And when that would happen, the slave masters would basically be like, fuck, I feel bad. We got to give these niggas something. Once the white slave master would die, another dominant society slave master would come along and say, no, we're not giving this nigga nothing. We deeming him insane because ain't no white man giving no nigga nothing. Go read the book. I don't need to make it up. Why y'all think I always talk about slavery by another name? Because that book is cold. That book is cold. Medical apartheid is cold. A price for a pound of flesh is cold. And I stand corrected. David James Youngblood. It is never caught. The untold story of Una Judge. That's where they display the information about Martha Washington being the largest slave plantation owner in an antebellum period in the South. She owned like 17,500 acres of land. And I was on this podcast with, was it Afro Elite? I think it was Afro Elite. Shout out to Afro Elite. He's dope. And this dude was from Baltimore. He was from Baltimore. He said, I know you're not lying, bro, because the owner of the Baltimore Ravens bought like 16 acres from the Martha Washington estate. This was like 3 years ago I was on this podcast, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Yep. And he was like, nah, dog, you ain't lying. She do own a lot of land because they bought it because she was like the largest slave plantation acreage owner in like the South. In like Virginia, everywhere. She owns 17,500 acres of land. 17,000. So add that up. Add that up in today's time. Because she still owns the property. She still owns the shit. That's family lineage. So these people been getting over. When you go to these corporate plantation jobs and you see somebody in charge, man, stop acknowledging and giving them so much reverence. They didn't earn that. Don't let these people make you think they earned anything. Their privilege earned them that. And anybody that has privilege that is non-foundational Black American and won't recognize it, it isn't your job to make them recognize it. It's your job to learn and watch. And as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, study the white man. You're going to learn. Just study him. Let's stop trying to change their opinions and just stake our claim on how we feel. So when the person's like, what do you think about reparations? I said, and what you should say is, I think foundational Black Americans deserve reparations. Just like our white dominant society, Jewish community, Jewish brothers and sisters. Their community gets it and they deserve it. So if they get it and they deserve it, and that happened in Europe, why is what happened on this landmass, it's like oblivious to everybody? And then y'all want to start talking about the Native Americans. I don't want to hear shit about no Native Americans. I want to hear shit about nobody but foundational Black Americans getting that big paper, that check. And if you ain't giving me no paper, we don't really have nothing to discuss. And we need to stop feel like we have to explain shit to people. No. They ain't nothing but time wasting. They're just wasting your time and getting you all emotional for no reason. But again, like I said, go do the research for yourself. 17,500 acres of land. And you mean to tell me we can't get money that is owed to us? I'm done. Guilty, nigga. Peace.